Welcome back to another update on Project Blue Lightning, Sasha's electric Evora. He's made a few updates to it since our last video, but more importantly, he took it out to CSCS Time Attack and destroyed everybody, except 2 people. So one of the key updates are the new Blue Lightning emblems you've got on the steering wheel and on the nose.
Yeah,
it's pretty sexy. I like it.
They're not actually emblems; they're just stickers on top of the Lotus for now. But
sticker tuning is key.
You gotta have something. Right?
I like it. Adds a little flavor. Yeah. More importantly, you've added a bunch of modes to, well, not just the dash, but to the whole car.
Yeah. So now there's a couple of drive modes. So this changes the cooling settings, it changes the power steering, it changes the traction control settings, and it changes the power. So we've got like on the screen when we go through to the drift mode, you can hear the cooling pumps come on right away.
Is that what that is? Okay.
And then we've also got a lapping and time attack mode, and that just gives me temperature readings all the time. And it also gives me a bigger last lap time display.
Very nice.
And then something that we didn't quite finish in time for CSCS was warning lights that would light up to let me know when the braking zones were coming, since
oh, no way.
I figured we wouldn't have much track time at CSCS. I wanted to try and get that programmed in so that my braking points would be super consistent.
Oh, sneaky.
I didn't get it done though, but yeah, so that's another feature that we could add.
And that's because they ran Toronto Motorsports Park backwards.
Exactly,
So it was like braking points you would never have seen before.
Right.
So you were trying to cheat by programming it in.
Exactly.
Sneaky bastard, I love it. So what are the differences between, say, time attack mode and drift mode?
Yeah, so in drift mode, we're allowed about 40% wheel slip. So in the video, you'll see I put it in drift mode at the end so I could do a little slide.
Oh, okay,
They wouldn't have let me do that otherwise.
Ah, okay.
And then, for example, in max regen mode there, whatever I call it, max range, it turns off the power steering, it turns off the cooling pumps unless it's getting hot.
So let's try to get as much mileage out of the car as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the other thing we've added quickly since last time, other than the power steering, is we've added a 3-way valve in the cooling system now. So the motor loop will heat the cabin when you want heat, and then when you want to go on the racetrack or you need more cooling, you just turn the dial to full cold, and now all the water gets diverted into the radiator.
Oh,
which worked really well on the racetrack, and we were able to get a couple more laps out before the motor got too hot.
So that cools the motor, not the battery pack.
Right,
but the battery pack
also water always goes through the radiator.
It always goes to the radiator, okay.
Yep.
Very nice.
So good.
How did the power steering feel compared to the last time we track tested it?
Oh, unfortunately, we had a problem with the power steering and had to run without it.
Oh, okay.
We're getting some shuddering in the steering. It feels like the pump's sucking in air.
Okay.
So we've got to sort out why that is.
You haven't had a chance to fix that yet?
No, it works okay on the street. You feel a little bit of shuddering here and there, but on the racetrack, you could really feel it, and it would confuse you as to whether it was the tires at their limit or whether it was a shudder, so I just shut it off.
Shut it off, okay. So you can just shut it off through the ECU, or?
Yep.
Very cool, okay. All right, well, I think it's time to jump to that in-car lap, and maybe Sasha will give you some voiceover to let you know what's going on in the Blue Lightning.
So we're coming through the last corner here on our first lap, which was a little bit of a botched lap. Using a bit of a dirt there, clean the tires. And then this chicane was pretty tricky, but we were pretty quick through there. I nearly hit the cones a couple times, but thankfully we didn't, because it's expensive fiberglass bodywork. And the car's just silent, and all you hear is the tires as you go through here. You've got no audio reference of when to brake, no engine sounds. You're just using your eyes as much as you can. And the power comes on really well. The traction control works amazingly with this thing. And use a little bit of grass. Clean the grass off now. Brakes are awesome in this thing. And it just puts power down. The traction control works so well. And you can see now it's putting out 340 kilowatts or so, which is about 450 wheel horsepower. And unfortunately, the power steering wasn't working on this lap, so my shoulders were pretty pumped after even just 3 laps. And then the last corner again. Clean the tires one more time. The car was really unstable here on entry, but we made it through on this lap, and then it ended up being a pretty good lap. And then the next lap, unfortunately, the motor started to get a bit too hot, and started to pull out power, so that would be our best lap, even though the last lap here was actually driven a bit better. So yeah, that's the electric car in time attack party mode. You can see we're being pretty hard on it, smashing curbs and not really caring, so it loves it. Electric cars are not boring.
Looks like it was a pretty clean lap, not too much drama there, and your lap time was a 118.8, is that right?
Yep, yeah, 118.8.
Which put you third overall, first in your class, which was rear-wheel drive, like super street rear-wheel drive.
Yep.
But you were faster than all the unlimited rear-wheel drive guys.
That's right.
And you were like, what, 3.5 seconds faster than the next closest guy in your class?
I think so, around there.
2.5 seconds faster than the closest rear-wheel drive car. Mike Gardner, we're calling you out, buddy. Anyway, fair to say it was a dominant performance. Doesn't hurt that Sasha can drive a little bit, but it really does show that electric cars, when built with performance in mind, can be an incredibly effective tool. I mean, he only got beat by a fully prepped Subaru Can-Jam car, which is like sequential gearbox and 1 million horsepower, and James Houghton's Type R, which is a highly developed time attack car. So
Sure, yeah.
to only get beat by those two cars is pretty impressive. You must have been pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, honestly, I was on top of the world that day. It was pretty cool to, I think the reverse layout and the chicanes really helped.
Yeah.
You know, there's no gear changing, there's no trying to sort through that. You just brake, focus on your spots, and when you get back on the power, it's just full power for as long as you need it.
Yeah.
So those short spurts between corners, the thing's unbeatable.
Like you were saying, between the chicanes, which was a relatively short distance, you were going from 80 to 130 in like blink of an eye, which is, nobody else would have been that quick in that section.
You couldn't even shift gears and downshift again in that time.
Yeah.
So the guys that had to shift a gear through there probably were hardly even speeding up.
Yeah.
So that layout helped the car, and the car's got good rear weight, so it puts power down really well.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, and you watch the video, like you can tell the car is extremely fun to drive. It moves around.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's
a lot of counter steer happening.
It is not boring to drive.
Yeah, no, it looked like
and it lacks the sound,
Yeah.
which definitely takes away a little bit, but it's a different experience. You just hear the tires, and it's so, you can be so precise with the tires.
Yeah.
You can really hear when they just start to give away just a bit too much.
Yeah.
So it actually, it's harder and easier at the same time.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I'm sure there's a learning curve there still, and without power steering too. I mean, you probably would have been a little bit quicker with power steering, you think?
For sure would have been a tiny bit quicker with power steering.
Yeah, he had a good little cheating bastard trick too. He had tire warmers on in the paddock because he doesn't want to waste electric power warming his tires up on the warm-up lap, so he heated them up before he went out there. He's a crafty guy, what can I tell you? So sorry, CSCS competitors who got their butt whooped. I'll talk smack for him. He's too humble to do it. So I don't know if we're going to have another update on this car for you soon, but we're scheming. We've got some ideas in mind, so we hope to bring you some more Blue Lightning soon. And until then, go buy yourself a Tesla motor. Get yourself some volt batteries.
Put it in something.
Do something with it, man. Try to keep up with this guy, would you? Let's go, Internet.
They're pretty quick.